10 years ago, I was diagnosed with adrenal fatigue syndrome. You may not know what that is, but for me, it was chronically being exhausted and tired. It was, yet at the same time, feeling very wired. My nervous system was fried. I was unable to sleep even though I was exhausted. I was dizzy. I was disorientated. I felt like I was living in a fog. I felt like I was walking through a bog. My body was heavy. I was dragging myself around. I couldn't get off the couch. And yet my brain could not settle down. I had adrenaline pumping through me. It was the most unpleasant experience. And it continued for about 3 years, where I would improve and then crash and then improve and then crash. And it took me a long time to figure out how to get through it. Yet now I'm living a life that I never could have even believed was possible, because I was so in autopilot back then. And even before I crashed and burned, I had signs already. I had little burnout periods. But then I gave birth to my daughter in 2013. And end of 2013, beginning of 2014 was when I was finally diagnosed. And it was such a blessing, because it pushed me to review and reevaluate my life. And I realized, gosh, I'm not living my life in a way that is serving me at all. In fact, my default way of being is really not very good for me, and I'm actually not even that happy. And here I am now, living what I would call my soul's calling. I'm doing the work that I absolutely love, that lights me up. I serve women in a way that I never believed I could. I feel so aligned with my own authentic self and my truth. And even though I get tired, I get through it. I mean, we will always get tired. It's a myth that we shouldn't get tired. I'm going to address that. It actually makes me really angry that there's this myth that we shouldn't be tired, that somehow we should be okay all the time. So yes, I get tired, but I have all these tools in place that help me now to feel empowered and to be conscious of why I'm tired, to support my body and give it what it needs to be tired, to rest, and to come through feeling even stronger. So let me first explain to you who I am and how this all brought me to where I am now. So my name is Kerry Magnus. I am a holistic psychologist. So I focus on the connection between mind and body. I don't believe that you can address just one on its own. It's not possible. I also do something called body talk. And even before I properly crashed, I focused a lot on stress and trauma. And ironically, I did my honors dissertation on burnout and healthcare providers. And at the time, I remember researching the symptoms and thinking, oh, this sounds a bit like me. And then I thought, oh no, but I remember learning that the lecturers told us we're going to think that everything is a reflection of us. It's like it's also, the doctors also have it, doctor students also have it when they're studying. And so I thought, no, I'm just projecting. It's not actually me. I was already in burnout in my honors year. So stress, burnout, trauma was my background. And then I went more into mindfulness and body and mind connection. And then I crashed and burned. And it was through my journey of recovering, through my own health process, and through what I learned and through the people I met. And then also through the clients that suddenly began showing up in my practice who were all exhausted, that I learned so much about burnout, chronic fatigue, and the nervous system, and how it all links together. And I started to see the incredibly high prevalence of burnout and fatigue that is present at the moment. Well, back then already, and it's just obviously worsened with the last few years. I wonder if you recognize this, if you've ever wondered, is busy and hustling the only way there is? Is this the only way to function? And this is a tricky one, because let me tell you, busy and hustling and being productive is very addictive. It's very, very addictive. And we feel very good about ourselves when we're in that place, right? So what happens is we develop an identity around being busy, being productive, being capable, being capable, being at the root of it is being a good girl. I'm going to also go into that more. And our society hugely values these qualities of always being able to be on form. Look at the Barocca adverts, right? If you're feeling like you're going through a slump, pop a Barocca and then you'll be back on form again. Actually, what if it's the time when your body's needing to rest? But no. Somehow rest and slowing down and being connected with the body has been devalued. It's somehow weak or less than always being able to be productive and striving and doing and in action. So it's very tricky because our identities are so tied up in this way of being. Yet I'm wondering, have you ever thought, surely there must be more to life than this? Have you ever felt that you're simply surviving and there's absolutely no thriving happening? I'd love to know if any of you can recognize this. And I wonder if some of you are feeling burnt out at times, where suddenly you just can't, no matter how much you sleep, you just cannot function the way you used to, where you are finding that you're lacking motivation and drive, where you used to have a lot of it, where nothing really seems to bring you that much pleasure anymore, where you're very easily irritated by things. In fact, let me share this with you. You might find it quite interesting. Okay, so this is an example of what happens with our nervous systems as we become more and more stressed. Now, like I said, most of us are on autopilot. What we don't realize is that we are actually in chronic fight, flight, or freeze, or fawn. I'll also share more with you about that. We're in a chronic low-grade stress response almost the entire day, and possibly even while we're sleeping. So what does that look like? Well, you're not in a stress response if you're thriving. So look at how you'll feel: enthusiastic, how other people see you, engaging, your sleep is deep and restful, your mental function is sharp and focused. How many of you feel that? And how often do you feel it? Maybe you're a little bit stressed, so then you feel edgy. Other people may see you as being a little bit slow. Your sleep might be that you find it hard to fall asleep. Your mental functioning is fast. Brain is like scattered. So a little bit stressed. How often are you in that space? Because look, we're going to have moments of stress in our day. That's normal. We can't always be thriving. We are going to have moments of stress. What's important is how much and how often you're feeling more stressed, more wired, or possibly even crashed. And how is it affecting functioning? If you're wired, so if you've actually got a little bit more stress than that, then you're going to feel overwhelmed. It's all too much. You cannot tolerate anything. It's just that the child asks for this and the dog does that, and it's like, oh, I can't. And you snap, and then you think, why did I just snap like that? It's just all too much. Other people might see you as other people seem to you to be incompetent. All right, so remember I said to you that for many of us, we are functioning on autopilot. We think that our default is normal. We don't question it. But actually, many of us are living in low-grade chronic stress. There's a low-grade chronic stress response of fight, flight, freeze, or even fawn or fawning. I'll talk more about these now. So what would this look like? How would you know? Here's a way to know. If you are thriving, you will feel enthusiastic, other people will seem engaging, your sleep will be deep and restful, and your mental functioning will be sharp and focused. As soon as there's a little bit of stress, you may feel edgy. Other people suddenly seem to be doing things a little bit slower, like the lemon people in the traffic, right? They're all driving so slowly, and the person behind the counter is taking so long to give you back your money. And it's really hard to fall asleep at night. And your brain is a bit all the time. There's a couple of different lanes open, and you seem to be using all of them. So yeah, we're going to have moments of stress in our life. That's normal. There are going to be moments where we feel like this. The question is, how often are you feeling like this? And to what degree is it affecting your functioning? Wired. So a little bit more stress now. When we're wired, we feel overwhelmed. This is when we cannot tolerate things. It all just seems too much. More is being added on the plate. And it's like, oh, I just can't do this. Other people seem incompetent to us. They're just, we might even feel irritated and angry with them. We find it hard to stay asleep, waking up particularly around 2 and 4 in the morning. And erratic mental functioning. You may even have moments of brain fog and other times of being like busy. And this is often that where people will feel both wired and tired at the same time. So the body might feel very tired and the brain feels quite wired. Then crashed is feeling exhausted, no matter how much you sleep. Feeling like other people are just demanding, that adds to this overwhelm. No matter how much you sleep, you're unrefreshed and you're just simply unable to generate ideas. There's no creativity. There's no motivation. How much time are you spending in the surviving realm? And how much time are you spending in the thriving realm? We are not meant to be surviving all the time. We were not designed for that. That is not why we have this one precious life. So for me, my adrenal fatigue was my gift to reevaluate my life and to realize that I needed to do it another way. And I didn't want to be living my life that way. And the gifts have been profound and continue to be so, to the point that I've now, this is what I do. I support women to live more balanced, healthy, and holistic lives. All right, so let me see, where am I? So as I was saying, most of us live in the state of nervous system dysregulation. If we go into stress and go back into relaxation easily, that's healthy. But most of us, without realizing it, live in chronic states of fights where we get easily irritable. We kind of just, things just activate us quite easy. Flight, we just want to run away. We avoid, we go into social media, we leave our bodies, go into our heads. Freeze is when we just feel unable to respond. We feel stuck. And fawning is a stress response where we please people so that we will feel safe. Because at the core of all of this, we do not feel truly safe. And in fact, this is where it stems from. So this is what I discovered. I discovered that the majority of the women who came to see me were very similar to me. And they were all women who had what I call the holding personality. This is just a label, and it obviously is not generic, but a lot of these qualities you may recognize, and I saw a lot of these qualities in many of the women that I worked with. Things like pushing, striving, driving, but holding in terms of holding so many different balls up in the air, holding for everyone else as well, rescuing, needing to fix everything, holding everything together, can't let it fall apart, holding all your emotions intact and down low, and not sharing, not asking for help. Different forms of holding. And often this came with also holding in the body, lots of tension and contraction. And again, you may not even realize that you're doing it because it's such a default. I was already working with body and mind before I became truly conscious of the degree of holding I had in my jaw, in my shoulders and neck, in my diaphragm, in my pelvis. And all of this chronically activated nervous system, this physical tension, impacts health. It impacts health in a small way over a long time, chronically. And then eventually we become ill in some way or another. It shows up in symptoms. And these symptoms are your body's way of talking to you and telling you, you need to slow down. You need to do life a different way. And it can feel very debilitating and very inconvenient and very frustrating. And because our worth is so deeply tied into our productivity, it can make us feel guilty and ashamed and awful. And I've been there and I know all about it. But if you can take the time to listen to those signs and symptoms and then choose to do life differently, it can be so profoundly, it can be such a profound gift and opportunity, as I've experienced in my life and as I've supported many other women to do as well. So just to give you a little bit of insight into where this might come from, many of the women that I've worked with and myself, and in fact for most people, we come from situations where our own parents weren't very conscious, and our caregivers, they were often had not resolved many of their own childhood wounds, and they often were quite busy and not very present, and they didn't really want to feel their feelings. That's the gist of it. And so in my case, my parents were always busy. They were high achievers. They needed to be in control. They were very capable, but they were not particularly, my father was not really physically present. He was working so hard. My mother was not really emotionally present either. And they both battled with anxiety, and my father definitely depression. But it was all low grade. This is the thing. It's like such a default, and it's so low grade that to the outside world, they look normal. And to themselves, if they had, again, they were on autopilot, like most of us are. They didn't question it. Okay, so what did I learn? I learned that I needed to be perfect at everything, because that's what I was seeing. I learned that I mustn't be lazy. I learned that I need to be in control. I learned that it's not good to show your emotions, so you must be in control of your emotions. And I learned that the only time that I was seen and heard was particularly acknowledged was when I was perfect, was when I was a good girl. Because when I was a good girl, it was easy for everyone. And I was such a good girl, and I was so capable, and I excelled at being a good girl until I couldn't anymore. And the cracks started to show already as a teenager. And then in my early adulthood, I actually had a mental breakdown. And at the time, I went for some therapy, which was supportive, but then I decided I was fine, and I went back to doing life as normal. And then my father passed away when I was 22, and that made me really start to question things. But yet at the same time, I started to see myself in a slightly different way and become a bit more conscious of my patterns, but I didn't really change anything in my life. If anything, I probably was pushing myself even harder. I was working full-time. I was studying part-time. I was cycling fanatically, and I was playing squash pretty hard as well, and I was running. And then I went into doing my honors and masters of psychology, which was hectic, and it just spiraled. And so that by the time I gave birth to my first child, I was finished. And that pregnancy and the postnatal experience, it was, my body couldn't tolerate, and I had to be, but yet I kept on pushing myself to be perfect, to have it all in order, to hold for everyone else, to be responsible, to be capable and dependable, until my body literally had to bring me to my knees before I'd listen. Okay. How much of this is resonating with you, I wonder? Let me help you to feel what the holding personality can feel like in your life. Well, firstly, actually, I want to ask you some questions. If you have to think about it, how happy are you with where you are in life? Do you feel like you are living your true purpose in life? Or do you feel at least that what you're doing brings you joy? Does it spark passion for you? Do you experience pleasure in your life? we are meant to be alive. We are meant to experience life with joy and pleasure at least some of the time. We're not meant to chronically be busy and doing and striving and pushing and exhausted and burnt out and thinking about the next thing we have to do. That's not why we're here. And it's not serving our children or those around us either when we're in that space. And it is possible to do it differently. So a lot of people that I work with are afraid that if we're not doing that, then we won't be achieving what we already achieve. Here's the irony. I've learned that when I do less, when I stay connected to my body, when I listen to what my body needs and give it that, things happen so much easier. Things flow. I have more creativity. I waste far less time on things because I'm just so much more clear, and like the ideas come to me intuitively. My intuition has blossomed. It's ironic as well that often when I take time to do things that bring me joy, I will have a client reach out and say, I want to sign up for your coaching, and I'll come back and there's the email. I can't tell you how many times that happens. It's almost as if when I focus on the joy and the abundance, all the other forms of abundance come as well. So usually it's money, right? I mean, that's why we do a lot of our striving and pushing and hustling and being busy. It's also to feel like we're in control and safe. But that can all come with a different way of being, where we feel connected, where we stop, where we're present, when we're in touch with life. And this is a lot of what I share with women, how to do that, how to be in our bodies, how to live life from that space. So here's the exercise I wanted to do. I want you to please close your eyes. I'd like you to think of a normal day. A day that involves a normal amount of holding, hustling, or busyness. Maybe you don't see it as those things, just a normal day. I'd like you to think of it and imagine that you're right there doing all of it. Whatever it is, working at your computer, running around with kids from one place to another, whatever it is. And now, as you focus on your body, is your body pulling up and pushing forward, or are you leaning back and dropping down into your pelvis? So are you pulling up and pushing forward? Is there some contraction in your muscles, some tension? Or are you leaning back, drop down, soft, relaxed, receptive, open? And now just take a few deep breaths right down into your belly. Soften your jaw, open your mouth slightly as you breathe out. Let go of that day. Let go of what you still have to do. Let go of all the things you're holding. Put it down just for now. Feel if your body is able to soften, drop down, lean back, as if you're being held and supported, as if it's not just all up to you. You are not alone. What does that feel like in your body? Most of us spend a lot of time in a regressed child state. So this chronic stress often comes up when we feel powerless, alone, and overwhelmed, where it all just feels too much and we don't feel like we can cope. The fact is, our adult selves usually can, but we experience it as we have maybe experienced life in the past, where we did have to be self-reliant, in control, hold it all together. And that's when the whole nervous system and the entire body is activated into tension, contraction, constriction, pull up, push forward. And it's not healthy. We cannot be in a healthy state there. In fact, our cells can only be the mitochondria, the powerhouses of our cells, which produce energy, can only be either in cell danger response or in energy production mode. As soon as our brain perceives a threat and our nervous system is activated, cell danger response happens and energy production shuts down. And this is happening chronically for many people, and we wonder why we're so tired. Okay. And our mitochondria start to deplete over time as we age as well. So it's no good with those depleting mitochondria if they're all in cell danger response all the time and not in any energy production mode. It is so vital to be aware of the amount of time we spend in an activated state versus in a relaxed, calm state. And it is possible to do work and to be busy and stay in a calmer space. It's especially possible when we start to learn how to balance it and pace ourselves. These are very important skills. Okay, so what do I share, which maybe you can take? I've discovered a 5-part process. So firstly, awareness. We need to become aware of how we are holding in our bodies, aware of how this holding personality shows up in our behaviors. Do you rescue? Do you control? Do you fix? Ask yourself, how much of this do I really have to do? And do I really actually have to do it now? How much of this is actually mine and how much of it actually belongs to someone else? Let's see if there's other questions. Are you people pleasing? Are you doing things to keep people happy, to avoid conflict, to prevent having them unhappy with you or judging you as being lazy or incompetent, which of course you're not? Do you have poor boundaries? Is it difficult to say no? This awareness can be very useful. And as you see this behavior showing up, it says to you that you're not feeling safe. You're doing that to feel safe. So on some level, your nervous system has been activated. It helps you to become conscious of that. The next part is connection. Connection to body, connection to inner child. It is about recognizing that activation in our bodies. So that exercise I just did with you is one of the ways. It's starting to take you out of autopilot into awareness of, wow, I'm actually kind of really holding myself together quite tightly. I'm clenching my jaw. My shoulders are around my ears. It's a sign that your nervous system is activated and that you're in that low-grade chronic stress response. And so it's an opportunity to just bring presence back to yourself. And when we do this, we're bringing presence to the inner child, the part that feels out of control, overwhelmed, and alone. So I like to put my hand in my heart and my hand in my belly, and I just say to her, I see you, and you're safe now. It's not the same, because I know that I'm now a capable adult, and I can actually do it, and I can ask for help, and I can reach out, and that I'm actually okay. So it's like letting that part know that it's not the same. She's not powerless and helpless anymore, all right? In the connection phase, it's also about just, for many people, they find it very useful to feel connected to something greater than themselves. It doesn't matter what form that takes, just to feel held and supported in life, as opposed to that feeling of being alone and having to do it all yourself and be self-reliant. And this is part of that self-actualizing tendency that Abraham Maslow spoke of. He's a psychologist, that we're actually designed to step into our greatest and highest self. And to me, we are held and supported by something greater to be able to do that. The next phase is the release phase. This is releasing trauma. Very important. So if you've had trauma, go and see someone to help you release it. An amazing modality is called BWRT. Incredible. It's something that I do as well. I find it, I've done many trauma modalities, and that one really can help. Then also learning how to release cumulative stress. So we can easily go from waking up in the morning to going to sleep at night without having stopped, right? We don't even realize that we just push. This is realizing that our nervous systems need to have moments of rejuvenating, and it only needs to be 5 minutes. Really, it can be hard. It can be very difficult to sit still for 5 minutes. But even if you just sit still and do a few deep breaths into your belly and then release, And in fact, a lovely quick way to release tension is to shake your body. Loosen your body and just shake. And feel your feet on the earth afterwards. You'll feel some tingling. It's a good way. Even now I can feel, because I've been doing it for a while, my body's learned how to calm down a lot faster. I've rewired my neural system, which is what you can do over time. Then the fourth phase is to receive. Once we've cleared old ways of doing things, we stop, we slow down. We're able to then receive more. We're able to hear what our body needs. And when we listen to our body, when we go to the toilet, when we need the toilet, when we feed ourselves when we're hungry, but feed ourselves what our bodies want, when we start listening to what feels like a yes and what feels like a no in our bodies, and when we meet our own needs, what's incredible is often the outside world seems to start meeting our needs more too. And in fact, many things can start to feel easier. And then this goes into the final phase, which is flow, which is where that ease seems to come in more. And it's also shifting your perspective that we can't always be in summer mode or spring. Sometimes we have to have autumn and winter. We have to have little deaths and little births in our lives. We have to have going into the cocoon and then coming out of the butterfly. We can't always be the butterfly. So as we shift our perspective to understand that everything that feels like a challenge is simply a moment of transformation and an opportunity, it means that things become easier and less stressful. So I haven't had much time to explain all of this. If you want to know more, I have shared a gift where I will be doing a live masterclass. So if you've got any questions, you can bring them to that live masterclass and you can learn more about these qualities and how to put them in place in your life and how to live a far more balanced life where you are experiencing more joy and ease and vitality, where you can use this one precious life so much more fully and in a way that just helps you to truly feel alive. I really hope that you've got some benefit from this today. And I just want to acknowledge all of you beautiful women for the role that we play as women on this planet. We are incredible and amazing. All right, take care. Bye.